And recently I was sent this neat little... I occasionally get the option to review non-flight related products, and recently I was sent this neat little guy from Sequre called the SQ-001. And it's a neat little mini soldering iron that's portable and can be powered by a variety of sizes of battery packs or even a DC power supply. Now I have to say that I'm intrigued by the concept and design, so let's take a quick look inside and see what you get in the package. The SQ-001 comes in a nice compact package with an attractive presentation window and company information on the side. How smart does it need to be? Well, let's find out. There was more to the package than I expected. Let's see, some stickers, wrench tool and extra screws, and even a stand with sponge cleaner. Battery connector is an XT60, which is fairly common. There's a quick start guide for the impatient, and a more detailed manual for the more inquisitive among us. I even noted some advanced features, which I will explore later. So, let's look at the actual iron itself. The core module looks nicely refined with a plastic body, embedded OLED screen, and 2 push buttons. The input voltages and power requirements are printed on the side, and 2 ports are at the end. Soldering tip is one long heated unit with electrical connections at the opposite end. The stand includes a small sponge and flip-out metal bracket. All in all, a very complete package. Just add solder. Assembly is quick and easy. Just slide in the tip element and tighten the 2 end screws with a supplied wrench. The pen felt comfortable in the hand and seemed to have good balance. Now I don't normally use the XT60 plugs, but they are actually compatible with the EC or IC3 connectors. On power up, you are greeted with a bright monochrome screen that displays firmware version and visual start instructions. When you press the A button, as commanded, the iron heats up to the default starting temperature very quickly. For most of my testing, I will be using the very common 3S 2200 mAh battery, as almost everyone has that size battery pack. If, like me, you live in the USA, you can easily switch to English units by pressing the B button and cycling the temperature, where a long push of the B button again changes the units to Fahrenheit. A double button push returns to the start menu, where now the temperature units are updated. Yeah, America. Anyways, I'll go more into the menu details in a moment. But first, let's put this baby to work. Not by soldering, but removing the iron-on covering from a tail surface. Instead of using a knife, a soldering iron can be used without fear of damaging the wood. As you can see, the SQ-001 worked great for that purpose. Okay, now for some soldering. Insert sponge, and add a little bit of water. Again, I'll be using the standard 3S battery that every modeler should have. And in about 30 seconds, she's ready to go. A little tinning of the tip before starting. Then the first test is tinning some wires, which work just fine. Heating both the wire and connector pin also work great. Test 1 complete. For the next test, I increased the temperature to the max of 400 degrees Celsius, since I was soldering larger XT90 connectors. Again, no issues with the big connector with larger heat sinking. I also enjoyed the portability, which let me easily move to another workbench to solder up a starter motor on a model. It was a convenience I didn't know I needed. Not all my soldering is heavy duty. I often work on small electronic projects like soldering this IC socket onto a circuit board. The stock tip was small enough to work the tiny pins just fine. So I was just thinking, one could argue that this is also just a really hot computer. So in that case, let's take a look at some of the advanced features that it has. If you press the button it tells you not to press, you get the battery voltage and tip temperature. Continue pressing the B button cycles through various menu options, like default temperature, standby temperature, sleep timeout in seconds, idle time in seconds, temperature step increments, minimum voltage, temperature units, and left or right hand configuration. Any of the menu options can be changed by long pressing either button, which allows the values to be changed like you see here for the low voltage cutoff setting. I was curious what the left-handed display looked like. And it simply inverts the display. Flanders would be proud. An advanced feature is the ability to make your own custom splash screen. You start by making a graphic canvas that's 96 by 16 pixels in size. Here I'm using Microsoft Paint. I'll need to zoom in a little bit. There. Now type in the text you want. I even got fancy with the font. Temporarily save as a monochrome bitmap somewhere on your computer. Now plugging a micro USB from your computer, and a thumb drive-like window will pop up. I noticed a config file was already on a device which contains all the defaults seen on the iron's display in text format, which I backed up to my PC. Anyways, just copy the bitmap file to the iron's root memory space, and then rename the file to logo in. Now something magical happens when powered on. Haha, pretty neat, though I kinda wish I could adjust the display time. You can even get a little creative like I did with this very famous profile. I mentioned firmware. Well, if you go to the company's webpage and scroll down to the bottom, you will find the firmware page where you can download the latest update. You have to hold the A button while plugging in the USB cable to place it into firmware update mode. Like before, copy the hex files to the iron's root directory, where it will automatically update and refresh the dialog window. Now you can see the version has rolled to 2.20, and there is a new option to select battery cell count instead of discrete voltage. The max temperature has now increased to 450 degrees Celsius. Yeah, more power! A soldering iron is a tool that I use all the time, yet never really gave much thought. But I found the SQ-001 is a great little iron that I never knew I needed. It comes up to temperature really quickly, and faster really than any plug-in iron that I have, and it gives me the freedom to use anywhere in the workshop quickly and easily. Now, it's small enough to keep in your flight box for more use out in the field with pretty much any old battery you may even have lying around. Now, I understand there are different tip shapes and sizes available from the company, but the tip it comes with has really been fine for everything I've used for it so far. Now, I did an estimate of use time with a humble 2200 3S battery pack by measuring the power draw, and after warming up, the input current leveled off to an average of about 0.7 amps. Rough calculations indicate it is good for about 2.5 hours or so of use at the highest temperature setting. A quick time to temperature, especially when you plug in a 6S battery into it, and really makes a great grab and use soldering iron for almost any job you may have. So even if you already have a soldering iron, it's hard not to find a portability of the Sequre SQ-001 extremely useful and convenient.